The UN's landmark report on global warming panel offers dire warnings, establishes scientific baseline for political talks. Valencia, Spain. The Earth is hurtling toward a warmer age at a very quickening pace, a Nobel-winning UN scientific panel said in a landmark report Saturday, warning of inevitable human suffering and the threat of species extinction, perhaps massive global extinctions. The report also offered blueprints to avert the worst catastrophes. The UN Secretary General said climate change imperils the most precious treasures of our planet. The potential impact of global warming is so severe and so sweeping that only urgent global action will do. The UN Secretary General told the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change after it issued its fourth and final report this year. The IPCC, following 6 days of sometimes tense negotiations, adopt a concise briefing paper on the science of climate change and the effects of human-produced greenhouse gases. It lays out various scenarios of future impacts, depending on how quickly and decisively action is taken. The summary for policymakers, and a longer version called the Synthesis Report, distill thousands of pages of data and computer models resulting from 6 years of research compiled by the IPCC. It will be a how-to guide for policymakers meeting next month in Bali, Indonesia, who will begin discussing a successor agreement to the Kyoto Protocol, which requires 36 industrial countries to reduce carbon emissions by an average 5% from 1990 levels by 2012. UN experts say a new global plan must be in place by 2009 to ensure a smooth transition. When the Kyoto terms expire, there are real and affordable ways to deal with climate change. The UN Secretary General said, "It must begin now, immediately." He said the Bali talks should set the agenda and a timetable. It must provide for funding to help poor countries adopt clean energy and to adapt to changing climates, he said. Very abrupt and irreversible changes are coming. Opening with a sweeping statement directed at climate change skeptics, the summary declares that climate systems unquestionably have already begun to change. Yes, they're already changing. The evidence is in the measured warming of air and ocean temperatures, widespread melting snow and ice, and rising sea levels. It says recent research has heightened concern that the poor and the elderly will suffer most from climate change. Hunger and disease will be more common. Droughts, floods, and heat waves will afflict the world's poorest regions, and more animal and plant species will vanish faster than ever before. Unless action is taken, human activity could very well lead to abrupt and irreversible changes, if that hasn't even already happened, that would make the planet unrecognizable and uninhabitable within relatively a very short time. The Worldwide Fund for Nature, another observer of the talks in Valencia, Spain, praised the IPCC for issuing a strong report, despite intense pressure from some governments during the week. Scientific certainty established. The report does not commit participating governments to any course of action, but it is important because it is adopted by consensus, meaning those countries accept the underlying science and cannot disavow its conclusions. It provides a common scientific baseline for the political talks. But differences remain stark on how to control carbon emissions. While the European Union has taken the lead in enforcing the carbon emission targets, the United States has opted out of the 1997 Kyoto Accord. U.S. President George W. Bush described it as flawed, or something like that. Sharon Hayes, a White House science official and head of the U.S. delegation, said the certainty of climate change was much clearer now than when Bush rejected Kyoto. What's changed since 2001 is the scientific certainty that this is happening, she said in a conference call to reporters late Friday. Back in 2001, the IPCC report said it is likely that humans were having an impact on the climate. And likely has a very specific meaning in IPCC reports, but confidence in human responsibility has increased greatly since then. Yes, global warming and climate change is real. It's already happening at a quickening, ever-increasing pace. It will take drastic action. It will take governments, nations of the world taking the lead. Yes, we need drastic change, not just little things. No. Anyway, yes, it's coming. Another sign.